war is launched.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to another episode of AF24NEWS Talks. Today, we are going to be speaking concerning the ongoing crisis in Ondo State between Governor Rotimi Akeredolu and his deputy, Mr. Lucky Aiyedatiwa. Just for a quick background, Governor Akeredolu left the state in June. On June 7th, he left the state for Germany on a medical leave because of his ailing health. And he was there. It was initially meant to be a 21-day stay, but he was there for the next about 3 months before he returned in September. And in that time, there was factions arose within the government because of people discussing whether or not he should hand over power to his deputy. And I just want to speak with my two panelists here. On my left, I have Dr. Olabisi Deji-Folutile, a director here at AF24NEWS. And to my right, I have Dr. Olayinka, Oyegbile, the editor at AF24NEWS. And now I want to start from my left to ask Dr. Deji-Folutile about the situation on ground and what you think about what's going on in the state right now.
Well, I think what is going on anyway, before I start talking, good evening. Nice to be here again with you today. Yeah, what is happening in Ondo State is like what happens all the time in Nigeria. Anytime the executive governor is indisposed, it's not the first time. I remember a time that the governor had an air accident, and he was actually indisposed for most parts of his tenure, yet he was never removed. He was governor all throughout the period, despite the fact that he was out of the country. He wasn't doing anything. In fact, at a point, that governor came out to say that he was tired. He said he was tired, that they just give him only tea. They are only drinking tea. And it was so difficult for the man to even make those statements. He had, I think, what's the name? Can you remember that governor? Sometime, yeah. He was governor of which northern state?
Adamawa. I think, yeah,
Adamawa State. He actually had an air accident. I think it was a pilot. Yeah. And that really caused a lot of trouble for him. And what am I saying? I'm saying that this is what happens. Yes, we have constitutional provision that says that when a governor is indisposed, these are the steps that should be followed. And that provision is not just made carelessly. It's made because of the realization that whoever will occupy that position or that of the president are human beings. And anything can happen. You may fall sick and all of that. But in this climb, people just don't want to live where they are. And it's so interesting that this is happening in Ondo State. I will also remember of recent, people have been, putting in the social media what Governor Akeredolu said when the late President Yar Adua was also indisposed due to ill health. At that time, it's this same Governor Akeredolu that was advising the then President Yar Adua, who also refused to hand over to the to the vice president as of that time, which was Goodluck Jonathan. It was this same Governor Akeredolu that was advising Yar Adua to leave the office and take care of himself and all of that. So I think it's something that we need to deal with in our political system. And we are talking about rule of law here. If we have constitutional provisions we shouldn't be debating about things that we have provisions for in our law books. These are things that should just work normally. It does not mean that the governor will not come back, but we should just grow to a point where we respect our laws, where we respect the constitution of the land. That is what I can say for now on this.
Thank you very much. You mentioned Governor Akeredolu's comments back then. I just want to read from December 2009. He actually spoke to Reuters. He was then the chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association, and he told them that it is the duty of the president and it is not discretionary. He was talking about stepping down and saying that we cannot continue this way. We are not running a banana republic. So I just want to ask Dr. Oyegbile that what is it about Nigerian leaders not holding up their own sort of the statutes that they seem to abide by before they enter into office, and then after they are different?
Some time ago, Dr. Ruben Abati said there is a spirit or a demon in Aso Rock. I think it's not only in Aso Rock, it's in all government houses. Because people preach ideals, and when they get there, they forget all those ideals and talk of something else. Is it that in our constitution, is it that in satisfying constitutional provisions, those candidates who are either presidents or governors choose their vice president or deputy governors with the mind that no matter what happens, I'm not going to allow you to be governor? Because what the Constitution says is that if you are a deputy governor or a vice president, that means you are a breath away from the presidency or the governorship. So if the governor is dead or governor wants to go on leave, he should hand over to the deputy or the vice president, as the case might be. But in this situation, we find out that in the 8 years, or for those who have 2 terms, has there ever been a time when a governor goes on leave and the deputy will act, or a vice president or the president goes on leave and the vice president will act? No. So what is it that we always have that provision but we don't allow it to happen? In the case of Ondo State, it is very unfortunate because, just as you have read, Governor Akeredolu is a senior advocate of Nigeria. And as a senior advocate of Nigeria, he doesn't come cheaply. And they don't just dash you that position or that. It's a prestigious thing among lawyers. So, and it is assumed or it is believed that he knows the law from the beginning to the end. So, is it that, because sometimes I ask myself, is it that the man is not conscious or enough to say that let my deputy act, or let my deputy act, or is conscious of all this and he has forgotten that some years back he also campaigned for a vice president who was not going to be allowed to step into the shoes of as an acting president? As somebody argued earlier, and I read today, assuming it is happening in an opposition state where the president does not have him, what will have happened? Because before now, there had been a crisis in the state. They wanted to impeach the deputy governor. They've gone a long way. I think they were about to set up, or they even gave the chief judge of the state the go ahead to set up an impeachment probe panel and all that. Before the thing turned around, now that they had to be called by the president. So if the president had not been an APC president, or he had been a president like former President Buhari, who doesn't mediate in such issues? What would it have been? Because we must continue to respect our constitution. The way we are going is not as is. People think the constitution is just anything they can deal with. We have not punished those who have violated our constitution, and I don't see it happening in Ondo State because the governor, the constitution says, I think 111 days or 130 days. The governor came back from Germany. He had a cameo appearance in Akure and then disappeared to Ibadan. Even the Southwest governors who went to visit him, either in the newspapers or even on TV, we didn't see them sitting with him, or maybe he was standing up or he was sitting or lying down. All the governors who visited him only came out from a building and they spoke with the press. Unlike when you visit somebody, they should have captured him with them, but they didn't show us that. So that means he's perhaps in a state that is uncomplimentary and they don't want anybody to see. So what is in that office that make people not want to leave? And that's the question we should be asking ourselves. Why is it that the man doesn't want to leave? Or maybe his people don't want it? Because there are so many theories that we're hearing. So, I mean, it's very, very unfortunate that we are allowing this to go on. For how long are we going to stomach this?
Thank you very much for your comments. I just want to speak on one more issue. I want to hear the thoughts of Dr. Deji-Folutile about the amount of money that the governor of Ondo State, that's Governor Akeredolu, has signed off on for contingency in the few months that he was away from office. So according to the line item on the budget, the amount of money that was designated for contingency in the 2023 budget for the state was about 1,069,000,000. But so far, the governor has spent about 8.1 billion.
Wow.
So
Contingency.
Although it is not yet revealed what could be the possible
what he
spent it on, but I just wanted to speak on, while having this kind of volume of decision making happening from medical leave, and so what is, like, how does this one would think that when you have important decisions to make that could cost this much money and everything, the executive powers of the state should be handed over to somebody that is on ground.
The editor asked a question that what is it about that office that people don't want to leave? This is one of the things about that office that is making them not to want to vacate power. You can imagine a situation where there is no respect for budgetary allocation. 1 billion naira was allocated, and how much did you say was spent? 8.1
Contingency.
On contingency. Remember, that contingency does not have a definition. Contingency is what they decide to be contingency.
Without the approval of the state assembly.
Without the approval of the state assembly. Why? Number one, the question to first of all ask is, how much of a decision can an ailing governor make? Because before he traveled, we saw him, and even his wife made some post on his 70th birthday and showed some pictures. We all thank God for his life, and we pray that God will perfect everything that concerns his health. But the point I'm trying to bring out is the fact that Governor Akeredolu was not even contending with issues of headache or cold. He was contending with serious medical issues. So how much of a time will he even have to be able to be signing all these documents. So we are talking, that leads us to another point of proxy in government. So for all you care, somebody could have been acting as Governor Akeredolu in that state.
Yeah.
And that person could have been the one determining how money goes out without the approval of the State House of Assembly, which is against the rule, against the law, against the Constitution. And you will not be surprised why this illegality, people are pushing for this illegality to continue, because it is through this illegality that they will continue to make the state of its scarce resources. Now in Ondo State, nobody is talking about the welfare of the people. In Ondo State now, nobody is talking about roads, nobody is talking about hospitals, nobody is talking about housing, nobody is talking about any form of development. What we are talking about is the rift between the governor and the deputy governor, whether to hand over, whether to become acting governor, and all of that. Is that what democracy is all about? Is that why Nigeria chose to operate a democratic system of government? Is that the way democracy operates in other parts of the world? Is that the way the American example that we always love to quote, is that the way they do their democracy? Because if there is any little thing, they will say, even in America, is this the way democracy is operated in America? So we need to talk sense into ourselves. And I think the Ondo people themselves are the ones that should also wake up and think about themselves, that what is this, what are they gaining from this problem, this democratic dispensation? What is their gain? An individual signed 8.1 billion naira without the approval of the State House of Assembly on contingency. We don't know other things that have been signed. So they should ask themselves, is that the dividend of democracy that they would like to have? And again, this issue has been now transferred to the presidency. I don't understand the constitutional provision that says that the president should be the one to decide what goes on in a state. I don't understand that link. I don't understand. I know that there was a time the presidency issued a statement, except that statement was wrongly attributed to the presidency. But the presidency has not come out to say they did not issue the statement. Yes. To say that Governor Akeredolu remains the governor. On what basis? So you see, a lot of things. Nigeria will just now operate as if we are in a, how do they call that thing? Banana Republic, where there is no rule, no order, no nothing. So it's unfortunate.
Thank you very much for your comments. Thank you very much, Dr. Oyegbile and Dr. Deji-Folutile, for joining us again today. And thank you to our viewers as well. Follow AF24 News on social media, across all our social media channels. The description has all the information. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful day.